Hey, hello. So I'm sorry I have to bring this up again. I was listening to a podcast last night. Uh, I like to fall asleep listening to someone talking, and usually pretty interesting. Yeah, it I don't know why it helps me to just tune out. Perhaps it helps me to tune out of me, which is what this video is about. Uh, and this morning, I also, because I was awake a little bit too early, I listened to another part of the podcast. It's about 2.5 hours. Uh, a sort of panel talk with Matthias de Stefano, Robert Edward Grant, Emilio Ortiz, and some other dude. And I'm not going to introduce them personally. Uh, if you're interested in who they are, I will put links. I will add their names to the description because, yeah, YouTube is usually not so good in transcribing names. What I noticed is they're all um, totally immersed, immersed in their story, in their thing. And lately, when I started the While Shift Happens collection, I noticed a shift happening. And at some point, this was a couple videos back, uh, it's called uh, Watching the Movie While Being in the Movie, While Being the Movie, and Being the Movie, yeah, something like this. And yeah, I was sitting on the other side of the table, going into this uh, altered state. And yeah, not too long ago, my friend Tom, he said, yeah, unless you did some, and he mentioned plant medicine like ayahuasca or truffles or mushrooms or some other substance, peyote, Lucy in the Sky of Diamonds. There's so many uh, of these substances you can take, or you can do a vipassana, sit in the dark for 10 days, or do a silent retreat, or you can meditate on a mountain for 300 years. And I noticed with me as well, the talking head just showing up, sharing his stories. While I am recording and speaking into the things that I, talk about in my videos, there's always this presence present in the background, one could say. It's like my base of operation, from where well, no, let me just say it differently. It's always there, my beingness. But the shift that happened in that video is that I also noticed my beingness. And in the podcast, listening to the podcast, and these guys, Robert Edgar Grant is a mathematician. If he starts to talk about mathematics, then yeah, he has lost me. I listen to not the words he's saying, not the information he's sharing, but his excitement and he's totally into it. Group of Chinese, and I love his energy. I really like how he really, he's totally into it. Being in the pyramids, in this podcast he explained he was 24 nights, consecutive nights in the pyramid, and all things happening, and then Matthias, he's funny in his own way. This morning, the little piece I was listening to, he says when an embryo is forming, the first thing that is being formed is the asshole, the hole from which all your shift comes out. And yeah, of course, all the guys laughing. But what I noticed is all of them, they're completely in their story. And don't take this black and white, please, as if I'm judging them or they're doing something wrong. No, I really appreciate, them doing their thing, because they're so good in what they're doing. And yeah, yes, I think it was last night that they also explained that sometimes we have no idea what we're doing. We just feel the call to move somewhere, gather people, do our thing, and so often they don't even know what they're doing. And yeah, they're loud, but who cares, right? And I noticed it with myself as well. That I feel like I'm nearing the end phase of while shift happens, and slowly moving into once shift happened, then what? because we can continue to talk about concepts. We can continue to talk about done all the knowledge that's being revealed now. We can talk about, and I'm not saying they are talking about or I am talking about, because in general I try to talk into, and talking into things from within. It's a different state of being, but yeah, even in one of the comments, it became clear that um, we can get caught up by the stories. We can really get stuck sometimes in, ah, so this is what I'm supposed to do, or this is who I'm supposed to be. And yeah, my philosophy for a long time, and it became really clear in around 2016, to just be. And yeah, listening to Eckhart Tolle and so many other speakers, we are Bashar. We are slowly moving from human doing into human being, and even while speaking, sometimes I feel like I'm still speaking about it. Though I did demonstrate in several videos, speaking from within this state of being. But I also noticed how difficult it sometimes is to put it into words, because we, as seekers, especially truth seekers, as soon as they found one truth, then the ego mind has something new to hold on to. The spiritual ego. Yes, now I get it, and then that becomes another story, which is fine. Really, it's just, this is how we become aware of the doing, and just being with that. Then it slowly transforms into human being. But what does it really mean to be a human? And then we go back into the analyzing. I love analyzing. Uh, some people, they don't even like the word analyzing. Yeah, you're analyzing again. And well, what's wrong with analyzing? Especially now, I know that the asshole is the first thing, so it's analyzing. uh, it's it's the mind, or your soul maybe, or your awareness. Yeah, please move. uh, your awareness, you want to, it wants to reflect itself, it wants to express itself, it wants to, you know step out of this shell, this meat suit. uh, and of course, yeah, I mean, I haven't done it yet on this channel, guided meditations. I might soon, and then, yeah, probably I will start the whole 13 chakra initiation thing, which been, you know uh, lingering. It wants to, but I feel it's not ready. Yeah, I noticed I got distracted by them, so that's why I thank them to move. I think the hardest part for most is to step out of the doing and step into the being, not as a doing. Because being requires like total surrender into, and that's the whole thing. Talking about it, I noticed it again right now. Like I can use all these words, all these pointers, pointy, pointy, pointy. Oh, pointy bird. Oh, pointy, pointy, pointy. Steve Martin, I think it was in some. Yeah, it was a funny movie, a long time ago. Another example. For years, I was watching Muji, Mooji, Muji, and uh, his teachings, they really resonate with the people from India because their gurus, they could only repeat their teachings from their culture. And yeah, if you're an Indian, grew up in India in this whole Hindu culture, and you follow these teachers as a Hindu, then you're in this Hindu thing. And then there comes Muji. I think he was born in Jamaica and lived in England. Still, no, now he's in Mount Shasta in. No, not Shasta. Well, in Portugal somewhere, south of Portugal. And then he was invited to India to have satsang, and then this whole place filled with, yeah, well, mostly people from India, but also people from all over the world, of course, because they follow him around, or they were there at the moment. And many Westerners, they go to India to dive deep in this culture. And then the questions. At some point, he does his satsang, and then the Q&A, and then the questions. And sometimes I could really sense, and my girlfriend as well, that he was at some point he was getting tired of giving the same answer to the same question, because if you don't get it, and with getting it, I don't mean that you have to understand it. No, getting it means experience it. And of course, during these satsangs, there were beautiful moments when, yeah, there's even a clip where someone comes up to Moji, up to the stage. They just sit there, and it was clear that that person was no longer the person and was speaking as God, as Source. And then Muji, he was deeply honored to meet God through this expression. But it's rare, and I understand why it's rare. Because we keep repeating the stories. And yeah, so here I am also repeating these stories. So once shift happened, the series already started, the collection. I'm trying to speak into what then. Yeah, if you once you totally surrendered, once you're fully awakened, once you're completely aware of awareness itself, what then? Because losing all identity can be very scary, can be very confusing, can feel like losing the mind, which is a good thing, but not a goal. Enlightenment is not a state you need to achieve. It's not something you have to work on. It will just happen. And of course, practicing helps. You know, if you want to be good at playing, if you want to learn to play the guitar, you can learn songs. Or, yeah, you can. Back then, you could have taken my lessons because I was teaching people to play the guitar. I didn't. I refused to teach them a song. If they wanted to learn the song, go on YouTube. Or nowadays, ask AI. But by playing songs, using the experience of those that became for you, you might get the feel of what playing guitar, squirrel eating a flower, playing the guitar actually means. Because playing the guitar, technique might be a part of it, but it's not about technique. Hearing is very important. Understanding music, if you know, I also studied music theory. Knowing the theory, it helps. But what happened during the ayahuasca ceremony, the second or the third one, where my girlfriend gave me the guitar, I started playing, and it was the mother, the spirit playing through me. I was not playing. Ever since, I can easily switch into this state. I can just, let the music be played. Right now, even when I'm speaking, large portions. It's not me speaking. You could see it as, or label it as channeling. Words are just flowing out of my mouth, and sometimes I'm not even aware of the words. Don't even know what I'm saying. It's just happening. What's happening? So once shift happened, that's where it starts. That's not the end. It's you just enter a new phase, the next stage. And yeah, I noticed in some of the recordings my inner struggle, sometimes my resistance to use words. And I just want you to know that while speaking into these things, this presence, it's there. And yeah, you have probably noticed, some of you have probably noticed. And I'm okay with it actually, you know. uh, that's also one thing I want to make clear. Explaining is just a tool, and I'm okay with using that tool, using it as a tool, using words as tools, using language, communication, speaking as a way of expressing a transmission. So, question: while watching my videos, have you also been struggling? Have you noticed a part of you trying to understand? Have you noticed looking up to me, or comparing yourself with me or anyone else? Have you noticed also the beingness? While watching my videos, there was something always there. Have you noticed the shift? Um, what? Yeah, so this is words. I was gonna ask, how do you feel? But how implies a doing. So, what have you been feeling while watching these videos? What sensations, what experiences have you had? Let me know in the comments, please. Yes, thank you. End of transmission.